Everybody, welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. I've got a very special guest today. It's going to be amazing, but what we always love to do, for those of you who have been around any given amount of time, you can see what we do right here, which is always interacting with you. Because tonight, not only are we going to interact with you, we're going to take some of your questions if you have any as we're going along, but tonight is going to be a really special treat for each and every one of you. But as you're making it into the room, make sure that you say hello to us. Tell us where you are joining us from. Greg, who is joining us from Washington State. How's it going, Greg? Lynette's joining us from Virginia. Yeah, I think that we fixed it, huh? Did we fix it? Yeah, I think we fixed it. There's Joan, who's joining us from Bakersfield. Deborah is joining us from Toronto. Diane is joining us from South Carolina. Bart is stuck in the airport, Sky Harbor Airport. Why can't I remember where that's at? Which one is that? Tell me which airport that is. I know I've been there, but why can't I think of what that is? Lynn's joining us from Vermont. Joanna from Washington State as well. Ben's joining us from the Florida Panhandle, which is great because our guest tonight is actually from South Florida. So Bren is also joining us from the Florida Panhandle. Welcome. Anybody else like to say hello before we go live? And if you're just making it in, this is Mentor Monday, and it's always a pleasure to be able to work with all of you amazing aspiring coaches every week, and being able to share some wisdom, some insight, and hopefully some inspiration to help you get to the next level. Who else would like to say hello? I'm about to welcome Harvey in, but anybody else? Oh, I know where you're at. Are you in Phoenix? Is that? I should know because I got stuck in that airport a couple of years ago and then ended up having to stay in Phoenix overnight. Adrienne joining us from Toronto. She says in the house this evening. Awesome. Anybody else like to say hello to us before we begin? All right. Well, with no further delay, let's go ahead and get Harvey in here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to welcome Harvey Keiser to Mentor Monday. Harvey, how's it going over there in Florida today?
I'm doing great. It's going really well here, and this is just amazing to me. I don't know any other way to explain it. I just was certified, 6 months ago? And I don't know what to say.
Well,
It is what it is. I got here.
Yeah, so let's go back in time for everybody. Oh, let me say hello to just a few more people who are saying hello to us really quick. Bren is saying hello. And let's see, who else do we need to say hello to? Charles joining us from San Diego, certified by Life Coach Training Institute in 2017. And Marie, Carla. Who else do we need to say hello to? Mike from Kansas City. Let's see, who else do I need to say hello to? Jesse's joining us from Toronto as well. James is joining us from, Canada's taken over tonight. Like, what is going on? Like, everybody's a Canadian, seemingly. Kelsey's joining us from Louisiana. There's Tara joining us from Vegas. Awesome. So here's, let's refresh everybody's memory just to see where we are at and everything else. So back in February, you reached out to our staff. You had some questions, and you were inquiring about becoming a coach in that time, and you actually started our Jumpstart program in March. So,
Really,
Harvey, I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us about what you've been doing over the last X amount of years before discovering coaching, and how did you find coaching?
All right, let me give you a little history and biography. And for those of you, some of you have heard this before, but those of you that have, my history is that I have been in business my whole professional career. I've had 2 successful businesses over the past 50 years. I have also worked as a sales trainer, a sales manager, sales professional, and I have been doing that for 15 years. So I retired in 2018, and I tried it, and I just found that it wasn't really working out very well for me. I lost my passion. I lost my purpose. I lost having goals in my life. And I was going into depression, not just figuratively, but literally. And I had to come up with, I knew I had to get off the couch and find something else to do, but play golf and watch TV and just do what retired people do. It just wasn't for me. So my wife, Gloria, has been a psychotherapist and still is the last 45 years. And I've been around that industry because I went to lots of trainings with her and learned a lot about her profession, learned a lot about therapy, had therapy. I went to therapy myself, knew a lot about it. I love the nurturing. I love the idea of compassion and empathy and following other people's process. I had a lot of experience with that just in running a sales team. Sales members and sales team members often have blocks. I had to find out what's going on with them personally. So it wasn't just about training sales. It wasn't just about selling. It was also about getting to know them personally and finding out what was in their way. And over those years, I learned a lot about what gets in the way of people's ability to sell. So getting back is I was in a depression. I knew I had to get out. I loved the area of psychotherapy. I did not have the credentials, however, to be a therapist. If I did, I probably would have been one. But the next closest thing that I knew had anything close to it that I could possibly reach out and become was a life coach. My wife had spoken to me about it, and the idea was in the back of my head, but it took me a long time to do something about it. So eventually, when I chose to, I did reach out to Jumpstart and the Life Coach Training Institute, and I got off the couch. I started studying, started learning what I needed to learn to become certified, and then went into Jumpstart. And Paul actually gave me my life back.
I appreciate that. So let's go back
Sorry for
because
the
here's what.
tears.
Well, let's go back 90
Sorry.
days ago. 90 days ago,
Okay.
you get in. And for those of you who are wondering where Harvey is in this thing, because we're going to get to that, 90 days ago, Harvey gets into the Jumpstart program. Let me tell you what else Harvey has been doing while at the same time getting his business launched. Not only has he gotten his business launched, but he also went through boot camp, which was our whole weekend training that he spent an entire live weekend with us going through training and certification in the last 90 days. He also went through advanced skills training that is the next level. So he's actually certified as a certified professional coach, on top of the fact that he's been going through the business development program, our Jumpstart program, working with us every week. He's in our group on our live calls and everything else, going through each one of the steps. And he's put in all of the hard work that right now he had to literally fit us into his schedule tonight. So I want to be honoring to your time. This is where he's at. It's happened really, really fast and it's happened really quickly, but he's got extraordinary momentum. And I wanted to bring Harvey on here, not just as a case study, because that's not really my end game. What I see in Harvey, and I tell you, Harvey, what I see in you, Harvey, is what I want to see for every one of my coaches. And I find that there's a lot of people who have been flirting around with becoming a coach, or maybe they go and get trained and certified somewhere. Because I know some people who didn't go through our program. I literally know some people in the industry who got trained and certified years ago and have never done the first step of getting a client. Like they've never had a client. They paid thousands of dollars elsewhere and have never even gotten a client or whatever. So the way that I see it is that, yeah, there's some how-to portions of things, but there's also some stumbling blocks and there's some sticking points. I want to start with this one sticking point. I know I told you a couple of things we talked earlier about what we would talk about, but one of them that we were talking about earlier today was this fear of rejection that both of us have seen that coaches seem to experience. And you've worked with a lot of salespeople, so rejection's kind of like part of the game when it comes to selling or whatever. I want to throw that out to you first. What would you say to someone who their biggest sticking point from getting started, or maybe they got trained and certified, but from starting their business is specifically a fear of rejection? How do we help those people, and how can they look at it that can help them get unstuck?
Well, first of all, that's a perfectly normal feeling of being in a position of just starting your business or just looking for clients. If you look at my landing page on my website, on the landing page, the very first statement is my tagline, which says "Removing blocks to mastering sales." And most of those blocks, what they have to do with is fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of success. I actually had a fear of success going on with me. My father actually competed with me when I was a kid. What did I know? I was a kid. My father's competing with me to be better. As crazy as that is, that's kind of what happened. So I always had this program in the back of my head that I can't make more money than he did. So that was a block that I had to come to deal with, and I saw that and I worked on that. As far as what I would say, as far as how to get through the feelings of fear and the feelings of rejection, is honestly, there's only one way and one way only. When it comes to sales and when it comes to prospecting clients, there is no substitute for the work. The way to get through a feelings of rejection and being afraid is to just feel it because it's normal and go through it anyway. In sales, it is a numbers game. Unless the numbers are there will be no sales. Unless the numbers are there'll be there won't be any prospects. No prospects, no sales, no sales, no business. It's an easy formula. If it takes 99 calls to get the one sale, are you committed to making those 99 calls to get that one sale? That's what it takes. And that's how to get through fear of failing, fear of failure, fear of rejection. Once you have enough going on, you're not even going to think about it. It's just going to be one more call. No reason to take any of it when it comes to sales. No reason to take any rejection personally. None of it's personal. People are busy with their lives. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves. Their husbands yelling at them in the background, or their kids are grabbing at their ankles, or they have dinner to fix, or they just had a fight with their best friend. When you call them, that could all be going on. You just have to accept that is part of life. And once you get enough no's and enough rejections, you know it's got nothing to do with you. And you just have to think that way. No, it's not you. No, it's in the numbers. Present those numbers to yourself, and then you'll see some results. And in results, that actually sparks more investment than your time. The best time to sell, you know when it is? The best time to go looking for a new prospect? After a sale, because you've got the confidence. You know it's just in the numbers. You'll begin to learn it's just in the numbers. But unless you go through all of the rejections you're going to get, how are you going to know? How are you going to get the numbers? How are you going to get that sale? It's incredibly important to keep going on, keep doing the work. There's a lot of things you need to do prior to that to work in the right area, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a little bit, but there's no substitute for the work. To get over fear of failure and fear of rejection, do the work. It'll go away, I promise.
One of the things that you have a great handle on, and it's one of the things that I always try to encourage our coaches on, is that you never have to be salesy, and especially in our business with regard to coaching, it's we're in relationship. This is a relational business, right? In terms of what we do. So being salesy really like the worst thing that somebody could possibly do, because it's going to undermine everything that we're doing. One of the things that I try to always encourage our coaches to do is that they should be nurturing relationships with people and adding value to them, so that it makes it a no-brainer by the time that they see this person as someone that they trust, that they like, that they believe that they can help them get the solution that they want in their life. There's trust there, but then that person's actually ready. So you have a great handle on the fact that we need to nurture a relationship and we need to serve people in order for them to see the value and become clients. I'd love for you to speak to that, how you see it, and what you would tell somebody who doesn't really understand that process.
Well, Paul, I got to tell you this. First of all, whenever you say the word salesy, I cringe a little bit. I do. I get a little insulted. I really do, because I am a salesperson. That's my professional. And to a lot of people, to so many people, and including salespeople, the word salesman, the word salesy, it brings up a stigma. It brings up an image of the guy selling a used car with a cigar hanging out of his mouth with "I'll tell you what I'm going to do" kind of thing going on. And that is not a sales professional at all. A sales professional does just what we're taught to do as coaches: find the client or perspectives or the prospect's problem, ask so you can find it, listen so you can hear it, and provide the solution. It's just that simple. And I do that as a sales professional. And a sales professional just asks well, he asks the right questions and listens well to hear the answers. We take it from there. There are 7 key areas to the sale, and I go through that with my clients. And this is, we're talking about number one: what does a sales professional do and how does he behave?
That's awesome. Well, let me ask you this, because you've obviously you've already got great momentum. You put in the work, because one of the things that's for certain for anybody who comes in our Jumpstart program or anything else, like one thing that I can guarantee people is that they'll never do this thing alone, and we'll help people get the steps. But I can never guarantee someone's success, because they actually have to put in the work. And you've been one of those people who have just put in the work, and you've made it happen, and you've made it happen quickly. That shows that it actually does work. So let me ask you this: what 3 things, if you had to look at it and some coach came to you and they're like, "Hey, Harvey, heard you had some success. You're having success right now. I would love to have success like that, but I'm a little bit scary." What 3 things would you tell them that they would need to do in order to be successful?
Okay, so the very first thing is they need to understand and to get very specific at the very beginning, and they need to build a plan, just like you are talking about in Jumpstart right now, is building a blueprint is what you call it. And a blueprint is nothing more than a plan. So it's important to have a blueprint, have a vision for yourself, just like we do as coaches. How we create visions, we help our clients create visions. Do that for yourself. Create a really strong vision for yourself and hold that out in front of you while you're actually building this blueprint. Grit and determination is the next most important thing. Actually, you don't have to have that. You don't have to be born with it, but you have to develop it. And that grit is what we were talking about earlier, where you make the phone calls anyway, you do the work anyway, even though the fear and anxiety is there. You have to have the determination, so you are not going to wash out with 100 rejections. It could take that many. Who knows? Are you willing to hang in there and go anyway, even if it takes that many? That's what's important. You need to have that grit. You need to have that determination. And next, I would suggest that you find a very specific niche for yourself. I needed, and Paul suggested I do this, and he was right, and I did. I think it's important for you to find the right niche so that you can go after the proper target market. Because if you don't know, you need to sell to people that buy. And if you don't know where you're needed, who are you going to call? Where are you going to go? Prospecting involves understanding and moving into your target markets. So those would be the top three for me.
Awesome. Speak a little bit more. And obviously, we've had our own, process. We have a process that we always help our coaches think through in terms of a niche. Why do you believe that having a niche is so important and it's so critical for a coach?
Well, it brings a focus to it. It brings me to a focus. It's like when I have in my niche market are business owners that need more sales. It's also sales professionals that want to increase their closing percentages. And without that, I wouldn't know where to go. You just can't. It's just not advisable or even professional to just think just to say I want to be a coach. I'm a life coach. I'll coach anybody. I'll help you solve your life problems. Nah, it isn't going to happen. Coaching is not inexpensive. It's not, but it can be very valuable. So you need to know who you are going to be valuable to. Unless you don't know that, you can't. It's very difficult to create value and to be able to sell and to be able to get clients. Your prospects have to see the value in the proposition. They have to see your value. And unless you have a niche and a target to go to very specifically, you're not going to know where to go. And it's going to be very hard to create value in yourself because where are you going? What kind of value can you present to the general public? Well, Facebook ads to me were, I tried it. It was a total waste of time and money from my perspective because it approaches the general public. I needed to get very specific in where I was going to prospect and what I was going to say and what value I would create. So the niche is that important to me because it helped define very specifically what I'm doing and what I was doing.
That's awesome. Going back to what you're doing in terms of the stuff that you're currently doing and everything else. I'd love for you to speak to consistency and specifically how much of a role does consistency in what you're doing for your business play in a coach being successful?
That's everything. And consistency is like the top three for sure. One of the things I do is I bring prospects to a Zoom meeting. I do it every Thursday night, and I do it at 8:30 p.m. I do it for free. There's no charge. I follow Paul's footprint. I like he does in Mentor Monday. I give away what I know. I give away my knowledge. I give it away to whoever wants to join for free. But I need to be consistent. If I start skipping weeks because I don't feel like it, I don't feel well, whatever the nonsense we tell ourselves about not wanting to do it because we don't feel like doing it, that's not going to fly when it comes to success. Consistency is important. If you're going to have a webinar or you're going to have a Zoom meeting or you're going to present something of yourself and you're going to say when and you're going to say where, you need to follow what you said you were going to do and you need to be consistent about it. Do it when you said you were going to do and be there. If you're not consistent, you're not there. And you have to be there to see the opportunities that come. If you're not there and you're not consistent, how are you going to notice an opportunity?
Yeah, absolutely. what do you feel like is working for you right now? Now, granted, I don't want you to give away your trade secrets, and I don't want you to give away everything that you're doing as far as that's concerned. Because even though I would say in general, and this is what I usually tell coaches, the reality is that there's only one you, so people can either only work with you or someone else. I mean, that there's only one you, so it's not like they can. It's not apples. You're not really comparing apples to apples when it comes to those things. But having said that, if somebody came to you, because when I say what's working for you, I'm mostly thinking about it in terms of the average coach is coming in and they're trying to figure out, hey, what's working? Obviously, you're consistent. There's something that you're doing every day. It might be something that you, at least generally speaking, that you've known to do throughout your career because you've had a previous career. Even though the coaching thing is new and you've been in retirement for 5 years and then just came into coaching and you're blowing it up and everything, there's something that you understand about consistency and things that you have to do to be successful and that you have to do on a weekly basis. So what's working and what does that look like for you?
Okay, so number one, as we spoke about, I needed to find a niche, and I prospect within those niche groups. I think that, and you suggested this, it's all out in Jumpstart. You want to know what to do? Follow Jumpstart. You'll see there's a business plan all there and a business development plan all there. What's working for me is I have been going to groups, I've been going to online groups, I've been going to local networking groups. So I network a lot. That's what's been working for me. Network, getting likability, being trustworthy are key when it comes to closing sales. So where else is someone going to get to know you that well? Like a networking group will do. So I've been spending a lot of time in networking groups. And from there, I invite them to my Zoom meetings so they can get to know a little bit more about me and they can start following me. And from the Thursday night Zoom meetings, I've been turning a percentage of them over to clients because they want to hear what I am going to come up with for them specifically with their particular needs. That's what is working. Did we lose video? Did I freeze? Did I freeze? Paul, I can't hear you. Paul, I can't hear you. You must have frozen.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
I apparently turned my sound off. So thank you for correcting me on that. What would I do without you, Harvey?
How'd you do that? How did you do that?
So here's the funny thing is, Harvey came in and he's kind of like, I don't know about this technology stuff, trying to figure it out, because obviously Harvey's still doing traditional networking and going to networking groups. For those of you who want to do traditional coaching and build a business that way, you can absolutely do it that way. And you can do it 100% that way. The cool thing about Harvey is that he's put in the work to figure out online strategies that aren't, and here's the thing that I would say for any of you, online is not something to be afraid of, scared of, and it's not rocket science, and you can find something that really works without burning up a lot of time and everything else. Because Harvey's been familiarizing himself with things. One of the things that we've shown a couple of times is Harvey's website that's on there. Harvey's actually, every week when he was getting things up, he was like, hey, here's my new website. Would you guys give us a critique? And what do you think about it? And the cool thing about Harvey, because he's been successful in a previous career, and obviously, I'm approaching 50, but Harvey's got a lot more experience. He's a veteran. There's all these other things, but the best thing about Harvey is he's so humble, and he's been so like, hey, let me use the resources. Let me figure out what I don't know. And what do you guys think about this? And so one of the things that we do in our group is we give feedback on what people are working on. So the funny thing was is that Harvey gets his first website up, and we look at it, and we're like, hey, this is a pretty good start, but man, this we would really encourage you on this language. And it's not that we're hard on people and everything else, but it is one of those things when you put in work and then you show it to everybody and everybody's like, oh, I'm exposed and I'm vulnerable. But here's the thing that I always saw with Harvey is he would look at his stuff, he would go back and he would retool it and he would adjust things, and he'd come back and he'd say, hey, what does this look like now? So one of the things that has been interesting in this approach, because Harvey's watching his email open rate. So when he sends emails, when we say an open rate, let's say that you sent 10 emails and only 2 people opened it up. Well, that's a 20% open rate. But one of the things that we've been working with in Harvey, it's like, hey, you know what? This, all these people signed up for this free Zoom, but unfortunately, I didn't have the percentage of people show up that I wish that I had. I closed people out of it, but I didn't have as many people show up. I'm like, well, what are you looking at? Let's look at your email and some of those things. Oh, let's look at your subject line. Let's look at some of those things. See, there's small little things, small little nuggets and different things like that, that as Harvey's went along, he modifies things. And I think that Harvey's already gotten the first tip of the success that he's had so far. But the reality is that Harvey realizes, because he understands it, that it's like, hey, you know what? This is kind of working. Let me tweak this. Let me make this adjustment here. See, the interesting thing for every one of you is that there's a lot of coaches who are trying to go out and do this thing, not knowing what they're doing, and doing it completely alone. And what I'm here to tell you is that we never wanted to be a one-dimensional school. We wanted to be about coaching proficiency, which I think that every school is about for the most part. But very few are actually about you thriving as a business person and having a successful practice. That's the other dimension that's really 90% of your business. Harvey, I know that you've been working actually even recently with a coach that you've brought on as a client. And what's some of the things that you're seeing, particularly with coaches, the blocks specifically from coaches getting started either with their business or getting clients? What have you saw?
Well, here's a very interesting, that's a really interesting question, because I was speaking to him earlier today and he was blaming himself for not having enough business, for not having the right prospects. And the way he put it was, well, I invested all this money in this course. And there are other people in the course that are doing so much better than me. And I think it has more to do with them. Like, what am I doing wrong? So my question to him was, well, before you blame yourself, let me ask you this one question. How much time have you put into this? How much time do you actually spend daily? How much work have you put into this? And he told me, and it was virtually very little. So I said, if you're not putting any time into this, you can't blame yourself other than acknowledge the fact that you're not putting in any time into it. It's got nothing to do with you other than the fact is that you're not working at it yet. So my question to you is, are you willing to work? And how many hours a week are you willing to commit to? And I'll check back with you next week to hold you accountable to see if you're able to put in those hours. If you don't, I'm not going to beat you, but we're going to find out why, and we're going to explore those blocks that are in your way more. And that resonated with him. It made sense to him.
Do you find, and just as a full disclosure, that is not one of our coaches, just so that you know, he's not in our
No,
program.
no,
He's somebody who's working with Harvey. But anyway,
no.
just so
But
everybody knows.
generally, actually, there's more to it. Well, what I wanted to say really about coaches, and I don't want to insult anyone, and this might be a little insulting, but from my experience with coaches, is not all, not all, but a lot of coaches do not understand selling. They put the word salesy and that stigma up in front of that word. They don't know where to go. They don't know who to go. They don't know how to market themselves. And most importantly, they don't know how to sell once they do find somebody. And Mark, make don't make no mistake about this. This is a business. And when you're speaking to a prospect, you are in a business transaction. There's always somebody wins in that transaction. Either they sell you on going away or you actually can show them your value. But most coaches don't know how to do that. There are legitimately 7 key areas of the sale. First 2 are building rapport and prospecting before we get into presentation and handling objections and needs analysis. But those 7 keys, my experience and my suggestions would be learn them proficiently so that you can close clients and get them.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Let me go on here, and just want to see if there were any particular questions that were sticking out here. Greg says that networking is my weak point. Glad he's talking about it. Let me see what else did I see. Uh, oh, there's an old friend. There's too much power in these rooms. Brain power times 2. Oh, Tara says the best thing about Jumpstart is that there's so much support, and I never feel alone. Lynette says, I'm not used to that much support, and I'm dipping my toes into the water. It's great knowing there's amazing support. Awesome. Um, let me see. There was one other question that I knew. What would you tell let me ask you, let me take a step back. What's probably the first, maybe the biggest thing that you've personally had to overcome in being successful as a coach and getting your business up and going?
Well, a lot of it, remember, is I was figuratively on the couch for a long time. So getting the marbles out of my mouth, just being able to speak at any length for any length of time without stuttering or stumbling over myself was an obstacle for me for sure. Um, that pretty much was it. Just getting used to speaking again, getting used to being active again. But I got to tell you, I got my passion back. I have a vision right out in front of me, which is serving others. I'm passionate about it. I have my life back. And make no mistake about it, Jumpstart team members are an incredible support. I didn't do this alone. I mean, I got a core group of girls, Angela, Tara, Joan, that have been amazing support, been an amazing support system for me. Angela even gave me a video that I did on one of my Zoom meetings. So I've overcome the obstacles that I have or had by overcoming being awkward, which I did feel that was definitely an obstacle, with the support of others. And it's important to have, it's important to do, it's important to participate in. And if you don't make yourself vulnerable, you're not going to get the support. So telling people what's going on with you, introducing yourself, finding people that you resonate with and communicating with them and being willing to be held accountable for doing what you say you're going to do, that's most important. And with no action, you're not going to get anything out of it. Another thing that I think is important to note is that very often I will do the work in one specific area. I'll be calling or I'll be um, posting or I'll be doing something else, and out of left field from some other complete source, unbeknownst to me, I get a sale or I get a prospect that had nothing to do with what I was doing. So my point is once you're open and available and you open yourself up and you're working, the universe does pay you back. It's not always directly with what you're doing, but you get what you put into it. And those words are more than true.
That's awesome. So there's always coaches who are tuning in on a Monday because they get on our email list, they're asking questions. Maybe they have been flirting around with the whole idea of becoming a coach. And I usually tell people if they've Googled becoming a coach more than like 2 times, then they're procrastinating at this point. What would you tell someone who's an aspiring coach, but they haven't pulled the trigger on it? They've been hesitating, they've been thinking about it or whatever. What would you tell them? Those who have just keep coming up, but then they're not jumping in. What would you tell them?
Well, I don't know if I'd tell them anything. I'd ask them, like, what's the block? What's in the way? Why aren't you moving forward? Is this something that you really want, or you're wishy-washy? There's really no such thing as try, like from the Karate Kid. There's do or don't do. So it's like, are you going to pull the trigger on this or not? And I'm that way when it comes to my prospective clients also. It's like, I'm not going to make you do anything. You're the one who has to choose. You want this, you want this. I'm here for you. You don't want it, it's okay. When you're ready, you'll show me.
Absolutely. Very good. That's such great advice. Hey, I'm going to hide Harvey just for a second and pay the bills. And here's what I'm going to do is after I hide Harvey, I'm going to bring him back and we're going to answer any of your questions so you can throw them in the chat. All of this is part of our Jumpstart program. And one of the things Harvey and I were actually talking earlier, and he's like, Paul, I really think that Jumpstart's too cheap and you're giving too much away. And I said, Harvey, what I have always wanted to do is to give people so much value, give them so much that it's easily a no-brainer. Like anytime that somebody has ever emailed our staff and said, tell me why I should pick your school over someone else. If it's not obvious to someone, we're not going to sit around trying to sell people. The selling point is the fact that when you watch any of our videos, when you spend a Mentor Monday and everything else, like even earlier today, Harvey was like, hey, suppose somebody listens to this interview and they want to work with me. How should I direct that? Do you want me to direct them back at you? And I said, more power to you, Harvey. We're not in scarcity over here. If somebody decides that you resonate with them, we're going to talk about it. I showed you his website. We put the link on. I'm going to put it in the comments again just in a little bit. That, hey, we're not into scarcity. Find somebody. Listen, if you're wanting to start a coaching practice, just go out. First of all, go out and do it and put in the effort and put in the work to deal with your own blockages so that nothing holds you back from being able to do it. And if we have earned any right to speak into your life at this point, I'll tell you that you're going to get more value from us than you're ever going to pay for. That's a commitment. We're going to make it a no-brainer for you because there's no reason for you to struggle and there's no reason for you to not be successful. We take every one of those excuses away because we give you every step that it takes, not only getting trained and certified, not only the business development help, because what is the parts of the program? You get trained and certified as a coach. Most schools are charging you thousands for that. It's $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment that you get trained and certified. You get a weekend as a part of that, which is our live weekend boot camp. We go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can knock all of your training out in a single weekend, and that you can take the exam and finish all of that with, as soon as that weekend is over with. There's role playing that's a part of that weekend. The next weekend that's coming up where we're doing it live is July 15th through 17th. But we also allow you to do all of your training and certification on your own through a self-paced program if you choose to do that. Jumpstart itself is a 40 core modules that give you the A to Z on how to develop your business. We've been talking about niche tonight. We show you how to discover your target market, how to discover your niche, how to attract clients, how do you have a weekly strategy. We give you feedback on anything that you're working on. So we go live every Wednesday. The people are part of that program. You got all of your videos, you got all your tools, assessments, everything else. We've got a whole course in there just on branding that shows you how to optimize your website for search engines, how to develop your marketing, how to write an email, all of these different things. Any one of those things is worth thousands of dollars in and of itself. And the other invaluable part is the Jumpstart community, because when we get together on a Wednesday, and of course you can interact with those people throughout the week in terms of the group, but we give you feedback on anything that you're working on. You can ask anybody who's watching even right now. With when Harvey was done with his website, when he was writing some sales stuff and everything else, he was like, "Hey, take a look at this." He's like, "Hey, I went live on a Zoom. What did I do well? What did I not do well, or whatever?" Like the support's there, and you don't have to do this thing alone. We're meeting you. We're coming as close as we possibly can. If $97 seems like a lot of money, it's Starbucks. It's $3.25 a day. Here's the reality. Right now, on this Mentor Monday, Harvey Keiser is building a six-figure business off of a program that is costing $97 a month. That's the reality. That's the dream of everybody that I know, is that they could have freedom, they could control their own schedule, and that there would be no lids on the potential income that they have, and that they would be able to do their passion. And that's the best part of talking to Harvey and even listening to him tonight, is that he's fully alive. Hey, how about you? Are you fully alive? Harvey talked about vision. Do you have a vision for your life? Do you hold it out? Are you living into what you're made to? Are you done? Are you just serving somebody else's dream? Are you just doing this job for security that you're in or whatever? Hey, listen, this can even be a side hustle. For those of you who are looking for a side gig, this is one of the best side gigs. That's what I was looking for. I needed to take care of my family. I knew no side gig that all of a sudden started, I was making more money in a side gig than I was working 40 hours a week. All of this is actually possible. It's not hype. It's not over the top kinds of thing. And it's not pie in the sky. It's the steps and you showing up with the support that you need and you putting in the work to be successful, living into your dreams. Or the other choice, either you're sacrificing right now for what you want, or what you want has actually become the sacrifice. That's what you have to understand. You're either sacrificing right now for your dream, or your dream is actually being sacrificed. That's the reality of it. We're inviting you into this. The link's inside the description right now. If you want to click in that and get more information about Jumpstart, you can get enrolled in 90 seconds. You can get trained and certified this month, and you can start building your business. And it is not hype and exaggeration, as Harvey has shown, is that in 90 days you can be busier than what you ever thought that you would be, with clients and actually building something absolutely for the future. And you know what? You can do all of this even if you're working a full-time job. It's not 70 hours a week kind of work, but in terms of the way that some people are thinking about business and being profitable, you're pretty much instantly profitable, because we're not putting you in debt to get trained and certified. We're just trying to give you what you need for as long as you need it. $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment, or you can stick around because it's absolutely a bargain, as I would agree with Harvey. Let me bring Harvey back in. Welcome back, Harvey. Just remember that link is in the description for Jumpstart if you want to enroll. Here's Harvey's website again. If you love Harvey and you just like, forget you, Paul, I want to work with Harvey. Look right now, look down there, milestonesalescoaching.com. Go work with Harvey. I don't care. Go work with him. Just pay his fee. Don't you complain about working with a coach, because you're going to crush it with him. So if you want to work with Harvey, click, there it is. That's how you get there. We're not hiding it because we're not in scarcity. I want him to thrive. I want him to kill it. If Harvey gets a client out of tonight, you guys watching this, then it's another seed that I've planted that is going to make Life Coach Training Institute that much more successful, and me that much more successful. So if you resonate with Harvey and you're like, boy, Paul's okay, but Harvey's like amazing, which he is, by the way, go to his website and work with him. All right, so let me look in the chat really quick and see if anybody had any questions. Anybody have questions for Harvey before we get out of here? And thank you for the kind comments for Kareen, who talks about me over delivering and providing limitless transformative information. Thank you so much. What questions do any of you have for Harvey while we have him on here? Oh my goodness. Greg just said the cost of Jumpstart just might be cheaper than a tank of gas. It's definitely true on the West Coast.
I saw some questions earlier when I was looking at the chat, but they're probably down at the bottom by now.
Oh, well, I will go back in time. Do you remember what any of the questions were specifically?
I don't. No, I don't.
All right. So
They're
ask him
coming in
again.
so
If you're still
fast.
on here and you've got a question for Harvey, we will bring it on here. Questions for Harvey.
I think I saw something that said they were really scared of sales. I don't remember who that came from, but
Okay.
I
Well,
did
jump
see
in there
that. It
and
was
speak to that.
okay. So that's common and that's normal, and it's I run into that all the time. And sales is something that you can learn. It's something that you can learn technique. You can learn actually item by item from target marketing, prospecting, and actually presenting. I teach it in a very down to earth, easy format, and it's like anything else, just getting used to it, getting involved in it, and you won't be frightened once you have a little bit of success. It just is a matter of doing. So give yourself an opportunity. Let go of that stigma that you have about sales and it not matching a coaching profession, because it does, because you are selling as soon as you present your offer to somebody.
Awesome. Greg said, when was the point when Harvey knew he put the right pieces together?
I still don't know. It's like I think that it's a learning process. It's like someone said something. There was another question. It's like, what do I do if I've had I think I saw, what do I do if I've had a podcast that wasn't working? It's like to to change it. It's like some things are going to work better than others. So I'm still looking for better ways and quicker fixes for me to actually get more prospects and to possibly launch another product. I've been thinking about a webinar, and I'm thinking about some pre-recorded events and all the different types of ideas that gets my juices running. And I see what there's another coach in here that's been very successful. Joan Raymond has been doing incredible with her product launch. Guys, ask her about what she's doing. It's amazing. She gives me ideas every day. So the answer to the question is, there wasn't a piece, Greg. It was just like a lot of different things. Of course, nothing feels better than an actual sale. I mean, that's always the most important thing. But when I saw that happen, I knew that I was onto something and to keep going. But as soon as I saw that sale from my first Zoom meeting, that's when I knew at that point that I was onto something right there and then. But I wasn't going to stop with that. I'm actually I'm going to model myself after you a little bit, Greg, and maybe try what you're doing on your YouTube station, because I saw what you did and I thought it was a good job.
That's awesome. Good answer. Um, Bobby says, what was your biggest key to getting over your barriers and putting yourself out there?
Well, that was something that I really have accumulated over the years. It wasn't something that just happened in the last few months. It's like when you're a sales professional and you're on with, I'm seeing literally, I used to see maybe 4 prospects a day in a presentation in their home or over the phone. It's like the barriers disappear when I know that I've got nothing to lose by handling an objection. It's like I know that it's a matter of survival. And if they're getting off the phone with me and I can, and I like to see people personally. That's why I do Zoom meetings with them, is I like to see their reaction. I like to read their eyes. I like to see their body language, because that also demonstration of like what they're thinking about. And as soon as I see that, if I can see myself as history in their eyes, I handle it right then and there. I go, what's going on right now? What are you thinking about? If you think I'm too expensive, if you think that there's something in this that you're unwilling to commit to, let's talk about it. So that happened, that happened from experience and time, with a lot of time with failure. I failed a lot more than I've been successful. So you have to be willing to go through the failure. So there wasn't really any key turning point or anything that happened just this recently. It was a matter of everything being put together and time in experience. So I don't really have that much of a fear when it comes to handling objection, because I'm out the door anyway. I have nothing to lose by saying, so let's talk about this. What's really going on? Well, I'm going to think about it. You're not going to think about this. If I'm out the door, you're never going to think about me. You mean to tell me that you're going to be up at night with your wife tonight and you're going to be talking about me? That is not going to happen. And when I leave, I never come back. And I don't come back because I don't want to. I don't come back because you're never going to give me another thought. So let's find out why.
Oh, it's so awesome. Lynn just is curious, where and how did you advertise your first Zoom meeting? Was it from an email list?
No, I did not. The way I did my first Zoom meeting was prospecting within online networking groups. And as soon as I would post, and when I see a like, I go right after it. I don't ask them questions. I don't say, would you be interested? And never say, would you be interested when you're talking to a prospect? Never. Because the first thing that's going to come out of their mouth, interested in, no. That's the first thing that comes up in anybody's vocabulary when they hear, would you be interested in? No, what I do is I see the like and I go for it right then and there. And I say, I am sending you an invitation to a free Zoom meeting to discuss key elements in a sale. Let me know what you think. They show up or they don't.
Got it. So when you say you look at that like, you just send them a
Yeah.
message on
Yeah.
wherever. Like you don't
Yeah.
post it in the comments. You go to the actual person who
I do
liked it.
both. But what I do is both. It's like another way to ingratiate yourself within the networking groups themselves, which is important. Trust and likability, very important when it comes to a sale, is I'll just watch the comments and the conversations going back and forth within the group. And I might reply to something I may know something about within the conversation, just to become familiar with different people. It has nothing to do with me and the Zoom or anything else about me. It's just to become part of the group.
Awesome. That's great. And Lynn, make sure, because you got access to that Jumpstart information, we go through in great detail about that with regard to finding people online, finding your niche online, and just like and this is just a hint for everybody, whether you're in Jumpstart or not. Anywhere that you go, if you guys do traditional networking or you do it online, the goal is go and be part of a community, connect with people, go there with an intention to serve, not an intention to sell. The intention to serve opens the door for you to earn people's business. You go
That's why
in.
Chamber of Commerce is so good. Chamber of Commerce
Exactly.
is great. It's
Any
great.
place is as long as you go find where your ideal client is, go there and then show yourself as a person who can add value to people. That's what the whole end game of this thing is. It's why Harvey's strategy is working. He's not just going in there saying, doing a song and dance inside of a group. Does anybody want to coach? Does anybody want to work with a sales coach? Of course not. Would you be interested in working with a sales coach? No. But what does he do? He goes in and he offers something of value. And then when they give him the opportunity to show what he's got, then it's a no-brainer. They can decide at that point, hey, Harvey's adding value to me. I can see that not only is he trustworthy, is he likable, and I resonate with him, that I understand that he knows my problem. And he gave me something today that could actually help and benefit me. And so since he did, then I'm going to give him an opportunity to serve me in a greater capacity by hiring him as a coach. That's all that sales really is at the end of the day, is that but you have to know what people's problems are. If you know what their problem is, and you've got a solution for it, that's a no-brainer. You don't have to try to serve sandwiches that no one's ordering. If you know what the problem is, you serve people, you talk about the problem, you show that you know what the problem is and that you've got a solution to it. This is what's making Harvey crush it very quickly, is that he's doing those very things. He's resonating with people, but he's also being consistent. He's not showing up in groups to be like, just posting links to his website, but he's posting valuable things for those people. And for those of you who want to do traditional networking, it's exactly the same thing. Is that even in those places, you showing up every week, you adding value to people opens the door for your business. But you have to know who you're looking for, and you have to know what their problem is, know who your ideal client is, what their problem is, and that you've got a solution that they actually want. And that's what makes it so much easier. It's not you're not having to sit there and convince people of something that they need that they didn't know that they needed. These people know what they need, right? So we're not trying to convince people of something new, which is what some coaches are doing. You want to live your best life? No, not really. Would you like to close more business as a salesperson? Yes. And that's what I see as living my best life. If I'm closing more business, that's what Harvey's doing in a nutshell. So let's see. Anybody else have questions? Let me go back in time and see if we missed anything. Santos says, what would you say to a podcast that's not pulling in clients, even though it's been in existence for a while?
I would find a friend, a trustworthy friend that has experience with podcasts, and ask them what they thought of the podcast. Maybe there's some adjustments to be made, obviously. Maybe you need to adjust some of the content. Maybe you need to do more than just a podcast. When something isn't working, adjust. It's like if an offensive scheme on a football field isn't working, the coach adjusts the play, adjusts the football scheme, you adjust the offense, and that's what needs to be done if something isn't working. It's a pretty simple answer. I also saw one was they asked me if I was a life coach. And the answer to that is I am. However, I just use that life coaching ability to help my clients get over whatever fears or blocks they have in creating more of a business life for themselves. So I do use life coach that. And I've asked Paul that question when I first started. I really love the idea of life coach, and I could do a lot of good there. Paul said, step into some place where you're not going to feel an imposter syndrome. And this is the place. And I'm loving it. So he was right as usual.
Well, it's one of those things, and the thing for all of you, and when we're trying to help people process what their niche should be, because a lot of times people will come to me and they're like, well, what are the niches that are most successful out there? And I'm like, well, every niche is great if you'll actually dial into a niche and really serve it. I was talking to a guy this past week, and he's a brilliant business guy, and he starts telling me this idea that he has, and all it was a niche within a niche within a niche. It's like a micro niche that he figured out, and I'm like, that guy's got a six-figure business that he's about to start that he's almost not even going to have to work on because he's found people to actually fulfill the business for him. And that's really what it is that you can find I always heard it said there's riches in the niches. If you'll actually choose to find in a niche in the way that I usually tell people to explore it and find it, find the people that you're most passionate about working with. Find the problem that you're most passionate about solving. Find also the connection with some of the things that you already know something about. You have knowledge or experience in that is really valuable. When you start interconnecting this, and for those of you who are also trying to figure that out, and you can go on our website, ilifecoachtraining.com, and do a blog search, and you can find a whole section that I did, several Mentor Mondays, where I just talked to you about how do you actually discover your niche, so that if you can dial that thing in, that helps you get so focused with everything that you do out there, messaging and everything else. Let me see what other questions that we have. I don't see any other questions. I know that you guys are about 30 seconds ahead of us. So I'm going to ask one more time. Does anybody have any questions for Harvey before we head out? Well, I am going to assume that that is it. First off, Harvey, I want to thank you. You are a treasure. You are a gift. And I thank you so much for sharing so much tonight. I know that you're incredibly busy, and your wisdom and insight and your success speaks for itself. So being able to just like share that and truly sharing that for free with people is just immense. And it's an honor to know you. I'm so glad that you're a part of my life. I'm glad that I've gotten the opportunity to walk with you. And there's sometimes when you get connected with people and you're like, I'm going to be connected with that person forever. And I know that, and I feel that about you. And I believe in you. And it's so fun to just watch what you're doing and coming in with your war stories and your stories of celebration and winning. It's just a thrill to know you and to watch you. Those of you who are interested in connecting more and following what Harvey's doing, there's this website right now. It's milestonesalescoaching.com. But Harvey, thanks so much for spending a Monday night with us. I appreciate you.
My pleasure, Paul. You're gold as far as I'm concerned. You've done it for me. You brought me back to life, and I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'm going to let Harvey go away and put him back in the lobby. That's what we call it over here. Just let me give you one more reminder for those of you who have not gotten trained and certified as a coach. There is an enrollment link inside of the description. So if you're interested in joining our Jumpstart program, all of that information that's in there, you get trained and certified, get business development help, all the support that we've been talking about and things that we've been working on. You can come and be a part of it. You can get enrolled in 90 seconds and you can start going after this thing that you actually really want in your life. Listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Thank you again to Harvey, who is amazing and he always lives up to billing. Make sure you check out his website and friend him on Facebook or whatever, wherever you can find Harvey. Make sure that you connect with him and you jumpstart people. Make sure that you give him plenty of kudos in our online community. He's an incredible servant, an incredible individual, and we're all just, we're very honored and privileged to know him. So listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Have a great rest of your week and take care.